March the 5th, 2026, reconvening from February the 19th, 2026 to order. This meeting is being held in person and by electronic means. Council members and the public may participate by either method. Any council members joining electronically are reminded to enable video to confirm quorum. The meeting is being live streamed on the city's website and YouTube, and meeting progress will be updated regularly on X at Van City Clerk. Now, in case of an emergency where we have to evacuate the building, please direct your attention to the glass doors there. Walk around the pillar to the left and please walk down the stairs. If that glass door is obstructed for any reason whatsoever, please look at the four doors on the sides of this chamber. If you need mobility assistance, please stay in place and one of our super friendly team members will come and guide you to a safe location. There's also a defibrillator at the end of the hallway just past those glass doors as well. I do want to acknowledge that we're hosting today's reconvened public hearing on the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I do want to thank them for their generosity and hospitality and love and care they show this great place that we get to live, work, and play on. I also want to acknowledge and thank all of our incredible team members throughout the city of Vancouver who work incredibly hard every single day to make this city a way better place. And so with that, Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Mayor Sim and the Chair, Councillor Kirby-Young.
Present.
Councillor Dominato is on a leave of absence for civic business all day. Councillor Bly is on a leave of absence for civic business all day. Councillor Fry is on a leave of absence for personal business from 3 p.m. onwards today. Councillor Montague.
Present.
Councillor Klassen. Councillor Meisner is on a leave of absence from 3 to 5 p.m. today for civic business. Councillor Joe.
Present.
Councillor Oer. Not present. Councillor Maloney. This meeting has quorum, Mayor Sim.
Great, thank you. So before we begin, a few announcements. The public may speak in person or by phone or may submit written comments to Mayor and Council. Speakers may only speak once and will have up to 5 minutes to comment on the merits of the application. Please state whether you support or oppose the application and if you are a resident of Vancouver. Those representing 4 or more individuals or groups, including themselves, may speak for up to 8 minutes. Each person being represented must confirm their name and presence in person or by phone and may not speak separately. Please follow along the live stream or at Van City Clerk on X to track meeting progress and know when your turn to speak is approaching. Please note the live stream has a slight delay. Written comments can be submitted through the Mayor and Council public hearing feedback form on the city's website and linked on X. If you pre-registered with the presentation, say next to have the clerk advance your slides. The procedure bylaw prohibits council members from the use of words, tones, or gestures that express negative views of individuals or groups. Members of the public are expected to not engage in improper conduct, such as hateful, defamatory, discriminatory language. Council members may raise a point of order if language is not respectful. As chair, I may ask speakers to adjust their remarks accordingly. A reminder, at public hearings, council acts as a quasi-judicial body and must focus solely on the merits of the rezoning or heritage application. Members may ask clarifying questions of our team members or speakers, including the applicant, but should reserve debate until after the speakers list has closed. After hearing from speakers, council may 1, approve the application in principle, 2, approve the application in principle with amendments, 3, refuse the application, or 4, refer the application to our team members for further consideration. Finally, if all speakers are not heard this evening, the public hearing will recess and reconvene at a later date. So, the next item on the docket is item number 5, CD-1 rezoning 2028 through 2038 Barclay Street. At the public hearing on February the 19th, 2026, Council completed items 2, 3, and 4, heard the team member and applicant presentations, asked questions of our team members and applicant and began hearing from speakers on item number 5. Council subsequently recessed and will now continue hearing from speakers on item number 5, CD-1 rezoning 2028 through 2038 Barclay Street. Any speakers in the council chamber, please come forward to the left podium when it's your turn. Phone-in speakers will be unmuted when it's your turn to speak. Speakers will have up to 5 minutes to make their comments and should limit their comments to the merits of the report being considered. So our first speaker today is speaker number 9, Mime. Speaker number 9, Mike Biscar. Is Mike here? Oh, he's on the line.
I'm on the phone.
Hi. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name is Mike Biscar. I am a resident of Vancouver. I've been a resident of downtown Vancouver for 10 years. And I am speaking in opposition to this rezoning application. I'm also speaking on behalf of Unite Here Local 40, the union for hotel workers here in British Columbia. Our union is opposed to this rezoning application for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we believe it would be yet another giveaway by this council to a major rich developer who is not providing any meaningful community benefit. Working people in the city of Vancouver are facing an affordability crisis. No one can afford to live here. And this application would be giving away major real estate next to Stanley Park without requiring the developer to do anything meaningful to address the affordability crisis that Vancouver residents are facing. And secondly, and I want to be clear about this, there is no hotel room crisis. We don't actually need more hotel rooms. And that is us, the Union for Hotel Workers, saying that. It is a fake crisis, we believe, concocted by the hotel industry. Rich developers decided that they could not make as much money building office space or luxury condos in downtown at this particular moment, and so instead, they've pivoted to building more hotels. The Coast Plaza Hotel on Denman closed. 150 unionized workers lost their jobs. The Empire Landmark Hotel on Robson closed. 150 unionized workers lost their jobs. The Four Seasons Hotel closed. 400 unionized workers lost their jobs. I don't remember any real outrage from the council or Destination BC when real estate developers that owned those hotels decided that they could make more money using those hotel rooms for a different use. And now we're facing the opposite. They're pivoting back to hotels to maximize profits. This is not about addressing some made-up hotel room crisis. And lastly, I would like to say that, and I think one of the councilors had stated this on the evening of the hearing, it's obvious, but there's significant community opposition to this application. And we've already heard from staff that council have the ability to consider that opposition and reject this application, regardless of what policies might be in front of council. And so my message to the mayor and to the council is that if you continue to disregard the will of the people and approve applications like this one before you, in the face of opposition, we will be working to elect new representatives in the election in October. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike. Sorry. Councillor Klassen.
He's not gone?
Yes. Mike, are you still on the line? I'm just going to stop the councillor's timer.
The speaker has disconnected.
If we're not able to get him back.
Sorry?
If we're not able to get him back, then.
Are we able, question about sort of procedure here. Are we able to continue with the list and then call him and bring him back on in that point somewhere?
It's too much fuss. I'm sure we'll hear from the speaker again. Thanks very much, Mayor.
Okay.
I'll take myself off the queue if you don't mind.
So, Councillor, it's up to you. We can take a brief recess.
No,
Okay.
I didn't want to.
Thank you. Okay. Speaker number 10, Javier Oer. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Close? Okay.
Phone number ending in 2604. Can you identify yourself, please?
Can you take that down? I don't need the slide. I need the presentation now. Send an email. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Sim, Council. My name is Javier. I'm a Western resident, and I love hotels, and I believe the hotel development policy is great. However, for now, I need to oppose this application. because it's clear that this process is calling for more time and greater clarity for an independent and impartial judgment by council to be possible. Here are 3 examples. Number 1, on February 19th, the applicant mentioned, among other cities, Barcelona as a model for this development. I happen to be from Spain. Is Barcelona the vision for Stanley Park? The local government there is struggling with dire ecological impacts, mass tourism, and public anger as a result of this type of development. Taking time for a sound impact assessment, as requested by the Park Board Commissioner, seems logical. Number 2, at the council meeting last February 3rd, the community engagement efforts by the applicant were described as going above and beyond. I am the engagement strategist at the UBC Center for Migration Studies and work internationally for over 10 years in this field, and I still consult. My evaluation of those efforts would necessarily have to point out at significant misalignments with basic principles of community engagement. Definitely not above and beyond. I'd respectfully ask for that record to be corrected and clarified. Number 3, clarification regarding the historical status of hotel use is needed. The city's building and licensing team stated that hotel use on this site had been recognized as early as 1987, citing a 1988 report to council, which they say suggests that the use was lawful prior to changes in the rezoning bylaw. However, documents at the city archives contradict this interpretation, and that should be revised. Many documents at the archives make it clear that the building was used for short-term accommodation after 1982. Further documents show how staff, at the time city staff, did flag bylaw contraventions. What the 1988 report actually says is, and I quote, prior to November 24, 1987, the building at 2030 Barclay could not definitely be determined to have contained an unlawful use, i.e. hotel, end of quote. So it does not state that hotel use was lawful. On the contrary, if the use had been determined to be a hotel, then it would have been considered unlawful at the time. What the report and other documents suggest at the archives is that the city determined the use not to be a hotel in order to avoid enforcement on the contravention, allowing then a non-conforming use seemingly to this day. So there's a couple of clarifications needed here. First, if the lawful recognition of the use of this site remains not a hotel, how can this application be revised under the hotel development policy, which is being used to evaluate the expansion of existing hotels? And how can that policy, in this case, supersede any other policy? So since 1998, the site needed not to be a hotel for the use of the site to remain lawful. In 2026, for this application to be lawful or conforming, the proposal relies on the site being an existing hotel. Also, the application was submitted to the city way before the hotel development policy was public. All this is very inconsistent and confusing and does need a lot of clarification. Second, given all this great context, is there a risk for the application to be used to bypass the Western Community Plan and other policies? There have been situations in which a small portion of a development, in this case only 23% of the units are short-term stay, is used to define the proposal as a hotel in order to avoid mandatory requirements for residential buildings. When the project fails as a commercial hotel soon after completion, and with 77% of the building already apartment-like units, a request for conversion is filed, and now 25 floors, instead of 10, as the rezoning stipulates, are in the market for sale or rent. Council, please do defer this decision. Taking more time now strengthens the legitimacy of whatever decision you ultimately make. And also, giving all the context, what an amazing opportunity to correct history, to reconcile policy, and to reinforce public trust. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do for the city.
Thank you, Javier. Our next speaker is speaker number 11, Harold Clerk.
Hello, my name is Harold Clark. I'm a resident of 2045 Barclay Street, right across the street from the 2030 project. I will be speaking a bit about my past 21 years of living there and becoming familiar with the current community as well as the people who stay in the Rose Ellen. I'm not against hotels, but I am against this project. Thank you. When Vancouver City Councillor Sarah Corbillon in a CBC interview hinted that customers are sometimes a different type of traveler who'd rather base accommodations choices on quiet, leafy green neighborhood near a beach or wooded area, I would ask, what is the community's context? Context is key here, as our comparisons many people outside don't see clearly. However, Sarah and people eagerly following the new hotel developments need to recognize that context and scale are key to reconciling what is fair among a profitable, saleable visitor accommodation and existing residents' livability. What are preserved values towards visitors and local communities living by? What is different and what can be shared, adjusted to maintain livability? However, the specified tower promoters want to bring here that which they want to bring, abolish the leafy green neighborhood and depreciate the livability of Barclay's West End, in many people's opinion. Our residents live by the heritage that was handed to us through the Community Development Plan, the West End Community Plan. Today, our middle-class condos and rental buildings are populated by new families, also raising children in them. And there are many professionals working from home in these areas. Seniors, some of them disabled. Affordability is a priority here in this diverse, densely populated region with reasonable housing stability. The proposed Barclay rezoning makes residents deeply concerned about increasing rents, taxes, build reservations, and in-area becoming commercialized, rather than solely our residential leafy link into Stanley Park. West of Denman Barclay is Stanley Park. Just have a look at it. Now, the big problem number one is getting to Barclay, getting to the 23rd property, because travelers are now directed to take Barclay straight from the downtown core via Thurlow through Stanley Park entrance transecting Lagoon. However, any vehicles traveling west on Barclay are unaware that the 2030 property is on the south side, meaning that the hotel-directed vehicles constantly make middle-of-the-street U-turns in order to come up and unload or reload guests and luggage to the curb, in and out of the Rose Ellen. Existing narrow Barclay street towards Denman, which is regarded one of the most congested veins in the city, is a big problem. The proposed 2030 hotel has no curved driveway that passes through and over the property for loading and unloading at the hotel. And this is due to the setback and the break in the standard setback depth from 130 feet to 99 feet. Now, I discovered something very interesting here, and that is 2045 Nelson Street in the Emerald Tower. You will see the 2045 Nelson Street residence, 16 stories, has actually a drive-through, which allows Nelson Street to be free-flowing traffic with no loading from the curbside. I recall the 2030 Barclay Rose Ellen traffic nightmare during the Vancouver Winter Olympics in 2010, when I worked with Rose Ellen guests attending downtown City Core sports events with a myriad of transit limitation complaints, 27 suites of guests leaving the 2030 curb by taxis, car pickups, even tour buses at nearly the same times. It was a ferocious challenge then, and I've observed many similar incidents in 2030 since then. Barclay Street is also a child care shadowing issue. Right across the street is the Brown Bear daycare. And if you look at that, people actually come down and park illegally on the right side to take their children into that building at 2035 Barclay. And this creates a backup of traffic going both north and south. And it also poses a danger for people who have children. Barclay Street is often busy with many people, all kinds of residents with walkers. I challenge the notion that the City Council, whom we the people elect to work for us, use the premise of radically removing the mandates set up by the West End Plan, community values on which a deep heritage and vitality of fairness has been built. I want you to understand the consequences of this and ask, When are you going to do about it? A 25-story commercial tower and narrow street line traffic is a proportion impossible to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harold. Speaker number 12, Moren Wilson.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Mayor Ken Sim and councillors. My name is Moren Wilson. I'm a resident and a renter in the West End for almost 40 years. I'm here asking you to vote no to the rezoning at 2030 Barclay Street. I'm also speaking on behalf of more than 6,000 residents who signed petitions opposing this project. In municipal politics, that is not a small number. That is a neighborhood speaking. Since August, our community has been gathering every Sunday at Denman and Nelson from 1 to 4. We call it the tables. What started as a simple idea turned into something remarkable. Thousands of conversations with neighbors who care deeply about the future of the West End. Renters, condo owners, seniors, young professionals, families, even hotel managers who warned us that putting a hotel in this location will create a real problem. More than 60% of the people signing were seniors, people who built their lives in this neighborhood. People like Pam. Pam is 92 years old, and every Sunday after church, she comes to the tables with her walker, wearing a colorful coat and a scarf tied around her chin, and she asks the same question. How many signatures do you have now, dear? Keep up the good work. We've also spoken with residents who helped create the West End Community Plan in 2013, the long-term vision for how this neighborhood should grow while protecting what makes it special. Many of them asked the same question. Where in the West End Community Plan does this proposal fit? Because what is being proposed is a 25-story hotel tower dropped in the middle of a residential neighborhood, backing onto a short dead-end lane near the entrance to Stanley Park and close to the already chaotic Denman and Lionsgate Bridge corridor. That dead-end lane already serves residents, deliveries, and ongoing trade vehicle traffic. It was never designed to service a hotel. Hotels belong on commercial corridors. We've also heard that the community was engaged. But after 7 months of standing on that corner and speaking face to face with thousands of residents, one sentence kept coming up. Wait, there's a hotel planned here? That is not meaningful consultation. That is discovery by accident. That says something. The West End is one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in Vancouver. People care about it deeply. They want growth, but they want growth that respects the community and the plan residents worked hard to create. Council, once a rezoning like this is approved, it doesn't come back for a second look. 6,000 plus residents have done their homework. They've shown up, they've spoken. You decide whether they were heard. So tonight, I'm asking you to do 3 simple things. Listen to the residents, learn from the West End plan, and love this neighborhood enough to protect what makes it special. Please vote no. Thank you, and just one more thing. Viva the West End, we love you. Those are for you.
Thank you very much for coming in. Speaker number 13, Lori Hodgkinson. Lori, are you on the line?
I am, thank you.
Please go ahead.
My name is Lori Hodgkinson. I live 3 doors west of the project. I do not support this application. 2030 Berkeley was built in 1959 as the 4-story Rosellen Suites. It has functioned as a small boutique hotel offering extended accommodations for over 65 years. In 1986 for Expo, it is believed the license was changed to include long-term stay. Since purchasing the property, Marcon worked on a few different projects. In 2018, they received approval for a 10-story residential condominium with 19 large-sized units. The building was designed to fit with a slightly higher height and slightly larger footprint in our RM5B zoning. It was all manageable. Neighbors supported this project because it respected low and mid-rise character and it preserved the neighborhood. There was no traffic, privacy, or infrastructure issues. But in July 2024, Marcon abruptly withdrew the condo proposal and pivoted to this ambitious hotel tower. I do not need to repeat the obvious. It's too big. Just to put this in perspective, if this goes forward, there will be an additional 500 people with transportation in one small block every day. It is clear that the project relies on the new hotel policy, which overrides years of community negotiated safeguards. I would ask the council to re-examine the hotel policy. It has been designed for short-term wants rather than long-term planning needs. There is no governance. Its vagueness, its broad-ranging precedence over long-standing community plans, allowing for unjustifiable and unreasonable approvals, is very harmful to our neighborhood, and it's forever. For months, I've been sending letters to planning asking for consideration of the above. Can we have a smaller hotel off? And I've offered these suggestions. Is a rooftop pool really necessary? Could the bar restaurant be moved to the 3rd or 4th floor without decks to minimize disruption and street noise? Could the height be closer to the previous condo proposal? All of these changes made the application more palatable, but obviously have fallen on deaf ears. I asked the councillors one question. Would you like a hotel and street-level bar built 20 feet from your bedroom window that you've lived in as a renter for the past 20 years? I think not. Please ask Marcon to go back to the drawing board. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 14, Bobo Irish.
Speaker 14 is not on the line.
Please go ahead. Or do you
Speaker 14 is not
he's
on the
not
line.
on the line. Sorry about that. I misheard you. Okay, speaker number 15, Jane Murphy-Thomas.
Hello, Mayor Sim and councillors. My name is Jane Murphy-Thomas. I live 1 block from the proposed hotel site and I strongly oppose it. I will be talking about 2 subjects: the scale of opposition of this proposal and what can only be called the betrayal of public trust in the way the West End community plan and hotel policy are being applied in this situation. I'll also be talking about how I've already been victimized by rezoning in another area of the West End, and at that time given commitments about west of Denman. First, to give you more of an introduction to myself, I speak from my career as an expert in community participation, working for 30 years in international aid and community development projects in 5 Asian countries for United Nations, international donor and local governments, relief agencies, as an advisor, trainer, facilitator, mobilizer for community participation to happen in those projects, mainly in war and disaster reconstruction. So now to talk about this scale of the opposition here. When the Stop 2030 movement started last year, I volunteered with that committee to mobilize the community west of Denman, and interest in opposition of the hotel proposal grew rapidly. After 4 months, I left to go other commitments, but the volunteers carried on growing the opposition, as you've heard, to the significant numbers you see today. However, recently it was disappointing to see how council had not been well informed by the planning department in their 32-page referral report or 2-page summary about the serious level of opposition. Then on February 19th, at the first part of the public hearing, when city councilors asked questions about community engagement, both the planning and department and development, the developer gave vague answers about it, when by that time they should have been able to report many more specifics, including detailed lists of who had been consulted, how, when, etc. But that didn't happen. This opposition seems to have been swept under the carpet, or as Councillor Klassen correctly called it on February 19th, the level of opposition had become the elephant in the room. Despite the lack of information being communicated, councillors were able to ask informed questions at that time based on information provided by the residents and volunteers themselves to show this level of opposition. You've already heard some of the numbers indicators of that, but what matters most is this petition that was just here with the 6,000 signatures. Census records for the West End show the population there is about 45,000, but west of Denman, it's between 5,000 and 6,000. So in other words, the signatures of these petitions are the equivalent of the entire population west of Denman. How can the opposition be more clearly stated? My second subject is about the betrayal of public trust. As I said earlier, I'm already a victim of rezoning elsewhere in the West End. Not only affects me, it has negative effects for everybody west of Denman, as the protection we had in the West End community plan is now threatened. In 2015, when the city rezoned the area between Burrard to Thurlow Davie to Pacific, I lived there in one of the co-op condo buildings that would be demolished to build 35-story high-rises. When we learned of this rezoning, chaos ensued, and we invited various specialists to come advise us, including somebody from the planning department. And that representative, we asked, if we have to sell here, where do we go to avoid being rezoned out again? And he told us, go west of Denman. It is protected area. The West End community plan limits building heights to 6 stories, so developers aren't even interested in that area. So as a result, a number of people in that building came and bought here in west of Denman. So now we hear 2026 with potential turning point where this protection is threatened by the way policies are being applied by the planning department. On February 19th, when the planning department asked Councillor Oer if the community plan and hotel policy could be competing documents, the staff member answered yes, but they do not give either document precedence. The trouble is that while claiming neither document has precedent, we can see that the hotel policy, in fact, was given precedence, eliminating protection. In closing, the size of the building will be a permanent irritant in our community to us, but only 2% of your goal for 10,000 rooms to be built.
We're at time.
So I ask for the
Sorry, Jane. I'm sorry.
Reject the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming in. Speaker number 16, Mike Archibald, online. Mike, are you there?
Yep.
Great. Please go ahead.
Here. Thank you very much. I want to keep it brief because I know there are a lot of speakers. I want to respond to some claims made in the previous city council session by the company behind this project. Firstly, the company's representative mentioned an acoustic impact of the one restaurant in the surrounding area being very low. And I'd like to note that the hotel and the building to which that restaurant is joined is significantly lower than the proposed development. Secondly, the company representative claimed that the ancillary traffic generated by the new hotel at this size would not be significantly greater than the vehicles in question would be in numbers and frequency than they are now. And as they currently occur, I just want to draw attention to that claim, which seems at the very least strange considering that the proposed development would be 5 times larger and would include a new restaurant. I also think that the issue of ancillary traffic was framed a little narrowly and should be considered more broadly than in terms of just a few main streets and arteries. After all, a large hotel of this sort would generate more than just traffic from cleaners, suppliers, employees, etc. It would generate a lot of vehicle traffic from hotel patrons as well. We have here an application that conflicts with other official city policies, that faces union opposition, that faces opposition from the Parks Board, and that putatively represents a, quote, isolated development in terms of the city policy. I think it's important to remember that precedents aren't just a matter of official policy. They can represent a sea change in the city and the culture that cannot be reversed. So I'm sorry, I should mention that I'm a resident of the West End, and I do oppose this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Speaker number 17, David Clark. Speaker number 18, Brian Sullivan. Speaker number 19, Fabian.
We are 4 people on the line as part of my group.
Yeah.
So I should have 8 minutes in speaking time.
Sure, if you can just identify them and if they can just state that they're actually here.
Yes, so number 1 is Ferris, the second one is Susanna, and the other one is Leanne. And then we have Catherine as well. So 4.
Are they? Just one moment.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, so we just have to verify they're online, so it's
Absolutely.
take a couple of minutes, please.
It's fine.
Mayor, can I take this opportunity to ask a point of procedure, just with respects to scheduling? I know that we have a lot of speakers and we're not going to get them through all of them in the 2 hours that we have this afternoon. I'm just wondering if we can get clarification, confirmation on the start of the next reserve date and the time. I believe it would be March 12th, but I'm looking for confirmation on that, the date and time.
Yes, the reconvene date for this item, if we don't finish by 5 p.m. today, will be Thursday, March 12th at 9:30 a.m. in the council chamber and online.
Okay, and maybe while the clerks are also very follow-up point through you, Mayor, if I might, are we able to post that for speakers that might be further down the list? Just since we only have 2 hours this afternoon, I'm just picturing a lot of people waiting and giving them a heads up that we're not going to get through them all before 5 o'clock.
Sure.
Yes, we'll do.
Thank you very much.
So, speaker ending in 2331, do you want to identify yourself as the representative speakers? So, speaker number ending in 2331. Okay, we try the next speaker who's representing. So Susanna.
Hello, yes, I'm on the line.
Okay. And then the next one is Fergus, ending in 4452. The next representative speakers.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Okay. So, Chair, I think that brings us to 3 speakers to give Fabian the 8-minute speaking time.
Great, thank you very much.
8 minutes is good.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry for the delay there. We just had
No,
to
perfect.
follow the
Thanks for
process.
settling that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of City Council, city staff, and fellow West End residents. My name is Fabian Fulik, and it's my honor to speak today as a board member representing Pooh Corner Daycare, located 975 Lagoon Drive, just a 2-minute walk from the proposed development. Personally, I also live with my family directly across from the planned high-rise, so I know this neighborhood really well. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Today, I urge you in the strongest terms to reject the rezoning at 2030 Barclay Street, replacing a low-rise hotel with a new giant 25-story hotel tower. Pooh Corner Daycare's unique position demands special consideration. We are the closest enterprise to this development, literally steps away on Lagoon Drive. As a long-established, registered childcare serving Vancouver's families since the 1970s, we care for children aged 18 months to 5 who depend on this tranquil Stanley Park gateway for safe play, outdoor time, daily drop-offs, and pickups. This high-rise hotel would fundamentally threaten the children and families who rely on our services by permanently changing the safe and calm environment they depend on. Let me be direct, factual, and structured. This development proposal fails on policy, on scale, on child safety, and on neighborhood impact. First, policy versus reality. The hotel development policy sets enabling conditions, not automatic approvals. It demands balancing tourism with local plans, not overriding them. After Marcon's condo-to-hotel switch, policy was expanded April 2025 to suddenly include West End sites like this. Post-application policy tweaks demand transparency. This tower ignores the West End Community Plan's Family Housing Directive. Policy requires judgment. This proposal demands rejection. Second, mismatched scale and a bait and switch. In 2018, the city approved a 10-story residential building here, fitting within the solar envelope to shield our daycare from shadows, matching West End Plan and RM5B zoning. When Councillor Claassen questioned the height jump at the February 19th hearing, Marcon, Executive Vice President Nick Paolella, admitted 10 stories weren't economically viable. They needed 25 to make the numbers work. This profit-driven tripling of height undermines trust in community planning. Third, zoning integrity. RM5B is intended for low-density residential homes along Barclay Street. Spot rezoning erodes trust and invites citywide livability erosion. Fourth, and most importantly, child safety and a typical day at Pooh Corner. To understand the impact, picture a typical weekday morning on Lagoon Drive. Between roughly 8 and 9:30 a.m., more than 30 children arrive at Pooh Corner. Parents pull up along the curb for 1 or 2 minutes at a time. Car doors open, sleepy toddlers are lifted from the car seats, strollers are unfolded, older siblings hop out with backpacks. Some families arrive on bikes, with child seats, others on foot with strollers and scooters. Parents walk kids a few steps along the sidewalk and through our gate. It is already a delicate balancing act, and it works only because the street is relatively calm and most drivers are local residents who understand there's a daycare here. Last week, this area was designated a neighborhood slow zone with a 30 km/h speed limit, recognizing its family-focused character. Now, picture a 25-story hotel dominating the next block. Hotel check-in and check-out times align almost perfectly with our peak drop-off and pickup windows. Instead of a majority of local traffic, you will have commercial laundry trucks, garbage trucks, food and beverage delivery vehicles, taxis, Ubers searching for passengers, and tour shuttles, all circulating on Lagoon Drive and the neighboring block, all competing for curb space and visibility in front of our daycare used by toddlers who cannot judge for themselves. Even a modest increase in circulation would change the street environment for our children. A hotel of this size represents a step change. Despite this glaring conflict inches away from their doorstep, Macron never reached out. Zero meaningful targeted contact to Pooh Corner or our families. Not a single meeting, letter or call, despite our 36 children facing daily risks from their traffic surge. When a construction project like this ignores the one facility a block away that serves very young, vulnerable children, it is difficult to describe its engagement process as robust. City staff have also confirmed in their reports that the tower will cast additional shadow on our outdoor play area, reducing daylight and warmth. The Park Board has explicitly cited these impacts on Pooh Corner in its opposition. Fifth, the construction phase and licensing risk. If this rezoning is approved, our children will face several years of demolition and construction next door. Heavy trucks, cranes, deep excavation, noise and dust. For an office tenant, that is certainly inconvenient. For a licensed daycare, it can threaten compliance. If Vancouver Coastal Health determines that our outdoor space is no longer safe or suitable because of dust, noise, or limited access, we could be forced into off-site play arrangements that are complex and costly for a small nonprofit to administer. None of that risk has been meaningfully addressed. Finally, public benefits, social license and process. At a time of acute housing need, this rezoning would take a residential site and lock it into hotel use. Housing is a human right. Tourism is not. As a professional in the mining and mineral exploration industry, having worked and operated in a dozen jurisdictions for more than a decade, I've seen over and over again that projects must earn social license from their surrounding communities or fail later, regardless of technical merit. Here, Macron has not earned that social license. More than 6,000 people have signed petitions opposing this project. The majority of the Western community is against it, including 3 key stakeholders: the Park Board, the Western Seniors Network, and us, Pooh Corner Daycare. When residents, seniors, and the local childcare center are all telling you this is the wrong project in the wrong place, it is not a close call. And notably, most of the support for this rezoning comes from outside the West End, from people who will not live with its impacts. Mayor and councillors. Vancouver's competitive edge is livable neighborhoods like the West End, family-focused, green, and safe. People do not come to cities like ours to see hotel skylines crowding their most cherished parks. They come because places like Stanley Park are still embedded in real neighborhoods where families live, children play, and community services like Pooh Corner are part of the fabric. Protect that character. Protect the children who use Lagoon Drive every day. Reject this rezoning, uphold RM 5B, prioritize housing, childcare, and neighborhood livability over a single oversized hotel. This decision will show whether Vancouver's mayor and council govern for the people who live here or are prepared to trade our homes, our daycare, and our park access for short-term visitor profit. Our children and West End's future hinge on tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Fabian. Awesome. Speaker number 20, Lena Orlova. Is Lena on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Yes, I am.
Please go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Dear Council and Mayor Sim, my name is Lena Orlova, and I've been a resident of the West End for 6 years, and I live within sight of the proposed development. Many of my neighbors who have been also on the speaker's list have lived here for more than 20. Like them, I strongly oppose this development. We are asked to evaluate this proposal on its merits, and I'm here to say that there is little merit to this project. The staff notes that hundreds of responses were received from residents, and I want to point out that while negative responses were critically evaluated, the positive responses appear to have been largely accepted at face value, and I would like to question some of these assumptions. First, we're told that this project is necessary to address hotel scarcity, but we're given no evidence that this is true. Even if we accept that hotel capacity is tight during peak summer months, Vancouver's tourism is highly seasonal. For much of the year, particularly during our long rainy season, most hotels do not operate at full capacity. Council should ask themselves, is it ethical to approve a 248-unit hotel that may sit with empty rooms for much of the year while we're in the middle of a housing crisis? You may assume that the applicant has carefully considered these realities. However, hotel management and development is a complex and highly specialized industry. Many successful hotels operate as an established franchise for that reason. What evidence do we have that this will be a successful enterprise? A review of Markham's portfolio, as you can refer on their website, shows a strong track record in residential construction, but they have not to date completed or operated a single hotel of this scale in downtown Vancouver. In fact, they have only recently received approval to build another high-rise hotel at West Pender Street, which for the record makes dubious their claim that a 25-story building is the only economically viable option, since they're apparently in the economic position to build not one but two high-rise hotels. This lack of experience may help explain the many unanswered questions in the application. For example, how will the surrounding infrastructure handle the increased strain? Will upgrades be made to accommodate higher pedestrian volumes near Stanley Park? Will bike lanes or seawall be widened? How will the city address increasing e-scooter and e-bike congestion, which is a very popular tourist activity around here? And it is already associated with high accident and emergency rooms visits. A 248-room hotel will require significant staffing, likely dozens of employees on site daily. Well, where will the staff park? Where will guests park? How about service vehicles, deliveries, waste removal, and tour buses? The applicant only offers a 70-spot parking garage, which is not enough to service any of these things. Consider a realistic long summer weekend scenario, potentially 200 check-ins and 200 check-outs in a single day. If only a portion of those guests arrive by car, that represents hundreds of additional vehicle movements in an area not designed for that level of traffic. The West End was not built to function like the downtown core, where most large hotels are located precisely beside roads and public parkades that support that density. Also consider the environmental impacts, the increased garbage, water usage, utilities, the spillover effects into Stanley Park. Increased tourism brings strain, vandalism, and maintenance burdens. Will the applicant will the applicant pay for these costs as well? The council, beyond the significant community opposition, I urge you to critically examine whether the stated benefits truly outweigh the costs. It is not simply about being for or against development. It is about responsible planning and long-term community impact. Certainly, we can redevelop this site, but what we need is daycares, we need schools, rentals, and community spaces. To the applicant's claim that they didn't submit a proposal for rental building because it isn't allowed, isn't that what a rezoning application is for? I'm disappointed that the staff report makes no meaningful argument about why they have given hotel development policy precedence over the West End community policy, and only citing vague and dubious reasons for doing so, saying it was at their discretion.
I'm sorry, we're at time.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm actually at the end.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much for speaking today. Speaker 21, Dustin LaPrairie.
Council, my name is Dustin LaPrairie, and I'm calling to share my support for the proposal at 2030 Barclay Street.
As someone who lives in a building in downtown Vancouver that combines residences with a hotel, living in a mixed-use building, I've seen how hotels can bring energy and convenience without disrupting the neighborhood. Visitors walk the streets, stop at local cafes, and use public spaces, which makes the area feel safer and more active. It's part of what keeps downtown vibrant and welcoming for everyone. This project will add 248 rooms, including serviced apartments and short-term stays. That kind of capacity is exactly what Vancouver needs to stay competitive with other major cities, attracting conventions, events, and visitors who contribute to the local economy in a way that integrates naturally into the community. I also like that the proposal includes plans for a charming restaurant that will be open to everyone. That kind of amenity doesn't just serve hotel guests, it gives neighbors a place to meet, dine, and enjoy the streetscape. From my experience living with a hotel in my building, these kinds of thoughtful features can genuinely enhance everyday life for residents. This project shows that progress and livability don't have to be at odds. I fully support this proposal and hope to see this approved. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 22, Neha Shrivastava. Neha, are you on the line or in person? Neha, are you there?
#22 is not on the line.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 23, David Young. Speaker number 24, Roger Keys. Yeah.
Thank you. Roger Keys, opposed. Dear Council and Prime Minister Carney, I know, Prime Minister, you're not at this meeting. Housing is a provincial responsibility given over to the municipalities they create. And housing is what the 2030 Barclay rezoning really boils down to. However, Prime Minister, your widely acclaimed national housing plan, which is so important and so appreciated in this affordability crisis, is already under threat. Thousands of residents, my neighbors, have signed petitions. I want you to know, sir, that there are heroes on the ground here. They are the neighborhood folks like Marine, who volunteer at the petition table outside Denman Mall and started this vigorous pushback. These neighbors belong to a great Vancouver tradition. In the 1960s, a similar grassroots movement arose to vehemently oppose the destruction of the downtown core by a council and its planning department of the time, bent on the building of LA-style freeways throughout the downtown. West End neighborhoods would have been devastated. Sadly, the Black Canadians of Hogan Ellie can attest to this when their neighborhood, full of families, shops, and social clubs like mine, was expropriated to build the Georgia Viaduct, scattering them into a long-forgotten diaspora. This and more happened all over the United States, which resulted in dislocation, crime, and food deserts. But in Vancouver, it was elbows up. Nearly 60 years later, the justification of a planning department to go ahead with a 25-story monstrosity to house tourists and not residents is out of a Kafka novel. The planning department recognizes this, but justifies it because it needs hotel rooms. That's like saying, to quote Chef Gino when his dish was compared to a carbonara, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. Absurd. This is a quiet, narrow street which abuts, as you know by now, Stanley Park. Parking, cabs, foot traffic, garbage trucks, not to mention noise from their proposed outside restaurant. Absurd. We have little kids on this street, Prime Minister. Kids who go to Pooh Corner Daycare. This is a family street. We need more of these streets, not less. Absurd. This, of course, is an area that we want our visitors to come to for its local culture and beaches and businesses. But as the closing of the Coast Plaza Hotel attests to, tourists want to be downtown where the action is. not here. It's at least a 20-minute walk to Granville Street. They won't walk. They'll take Ubers and taxis day and night. This is not a tourism development plan. This is a replication of Barcelona and Venice. So why then is this really going on? What would you say, Prime Minister, is the quiet part that is not being said out loud? Let me rephrase for this moment your brilliant Davos speech. We know today the story of the municipal rules-based order is partially false, that the strongest will exempt themselves when convenient, and we know now that zoning laws are applied with varying rigor depending on the strength of the developments. But let's be clear-eyed about where this leads. A world of hotels will make our neighborhoods and our cities poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. The noise and disruption of 2 to 4 years of building this monstrosity will force my neighbors and their children to leave. Once their apartments are empty and can't be rented, even our most committed and decent landlords will have to sell to you-know-who. And then these beautiful little West End blocks of old and young, partnered and single, will become the hotel district that the planners and developers wake up at night thinking about. Council, these are real families. The boys who tromp down the stairs each morning to go to King George High School at one end of the street. The toddlers who toddle down to the other end of the street to Pooh Corner. And in between these journeys back and forth, from one end of Barclay Street to another, are lifetimes. A dad and his little boy playing hockey at the end of the street. The little boy now, absurdly, a towering young man attending UBC. Or the young lady across the street whose dog Pepper I know so well. These scenes will disappear with the wink of an A. Prime Minister, City Council. Let me just finish with this quick.
Sorry,
Prime Minister, we are here today to be at the table, not to be eaten.
Thank you. And sorry, by the way, 2 comments. Roger, thank you for the bike reference. I saw that clip. Brought a little smile to my face. If I can just send a message to everyone here today. We do have a protocol where, while we appreciate people want to clap, and show their support, and we understand it. We do have a protocol that says that we don't do that here, because sometimes, not necessarily in all situations, but our team members can feel intimidated by the crowd in the right circumstances. So we've just made it a policy of this council, and it existed before we were in council, by the way, that if you can refrain from clapping when you hear words and you support them. The reason is we just want to make sure that our team members feel safe in every environment. So thank you. Okay, speaker number 25 has withdrawn. Speaker number 26, Margaretta Dogal. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Thank you.
I just start, or?
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was waiting for the mic to go. Thanks so much, Mayor Sim, and good afternoon, councillors. My name is Margaretta Dogal. I was born at St. Paul's Hospital. My parents were renting on this very block at the end of Barclay in a tower overlooking the lagoon when I made my way into the world. Today, I again live on Barclay Street, have for a number of years now, renting a place I can barely afford like most of my neighbors. I'm a second-generation Barclay Street resident. I'm also a public policy analyst and commentator. I sit on the city's Renters Advisory Committee, though I speak here today as an individual and as a neighbor. Some of the buttons you've seen on a few of the lapels, top 2030 Barclay, they don't speak for me. And I love this proposal. I actually went out of my way to write an op-ed in the Daily Hive just last month, speaking to how a lack of hotel units is putting pressure on housing supply. I know this to be true for a variety of reasons. My current West End building has largely been filled with, initially legally, but now I believe mostly not so legally short-term rentals. That's a story that we see across the West End. And I've also heard from city staff on this matter at the Renters Advisory Committee. And we know full well that enforcement is not keeping up with the market pressures to bridge this extreme lack of adequate hotel units across the region and particularly in the downtown peninsula. Overall, I think the opposition, while sincere, is disconnected from the material conditions that my neighbors and many others living in the West End and in the downtown core actually live with. So let me tell you what life for me looks like in the context of hotels or not. I live in a small apartment. Most of us do. So when my family and friends visit from out of town, the best that I can offer them is a small air mattress stuffed between my couch and my coffee table. That's not a complaint. That's just the reality of renting in Vancouver in my late 20s. My cousin came from Hungary. She crossed an ocean to see me a few months back, and that was the best I could do for her. And friends of mine who live just steps away from this proposed redevelopment just had a baby. Their baby's nursery used to be their former guest room, and when the grandparents fly in to meet their grandchild, they need somewhere to stay. $400 a night is kind of what they're looking at, assuming they can even find a room. So as a result, many of those trips and trips like that just don't happen. So it's not also just about happy occasions. People use hotels when a loved one is in the hospital. St. Paul's is right here, Vancouver General, not too far from where we are today. Having affordable, available hotel rooms in this neighborhood is not a luxury. It is core infrastructure. And it's how families support each other through the hardest moments of their lives. We need to stop thinking about hotels as something only for, latte sipping tourists on a bachelorette weekend. They're for grandparents visiting a new baby. They're for family members supporting someone through surgery. And they're really for all of us who live in 500 square feet or so and still want to be part of a community that welcomes people in, that is livable. Let me now speak to the economics, because I think this matters for how council ultimately weighs this decision. Vancouver is short roughly 10,000 hotel units. That shortage means sky-high nightly rates. Those have consequences economically. They affect whether conventions choose Vancouver or go somewhere else. They affect whether businesses hold their events here or in Calgary, Seattle, or further afield. So if you fail to build more hotel supply, that's revenue and jobs that we are missing out on, that we need here in the tourism sector. I founded and organized a conference, the Indigenous Partnership Success Showcase. I ran it for 3 years, grew it to 1,500 attendees, and I can tell you from direct experience, hotel availability and cost are among the first things organizers look at when deciding where to go. Vancouver is losing bids that it should be winning because we have not resolved this issue. This council has repeatedly said it is pro-business and pro-growth. This is a chance to prove it. A purpose-built hotel on a site that has been a hotel for decades. And here's the piece that should matter most to anyone who cares about renters. Every year we fail to build adequate hotel capacity, we incentivize exactly what the province just cracked down on. Entire apartments converted to illegal short-term rentals off of places like Airbnb, which are easier to enforce. Better enforcement alone isn't going to fix this. We need legitimate hotel rooms. And I also understand that change is uncomfortable. I'm someone who is living next to a soon-to-be construction site, so I feel that. I've lived next to construction before. That's just a reality of being in a city. Change happens. And while the height of the proposed hotel is a little bit bigger than what is there today, it is still a strong contextual fit for the neighborhood. The West End I was born in, the one I know today after years of living here, is one that is characterized by a diverse and beautiful built environment. I think this proposed hotel would be a lovely addition to its surroundings, and I hope that one day I can not only refer visitors to the hotel, but that I can also enjoy time with friends and neighbors on the patio, and then many others in our community can partake in those upsides too. Fundamentally, and I need to stress this, discomfort with change is not the basis for good urban policy. Vote yes.
Great, and you're at time. Thank you, Margaretta. Speaker number 27, Amber Papo.
Hello. Close. It's Papo, but that's you were pretty close. Papo. No worries. No one can actually pronounce it. So thank you for inviting me, at least virtually, Mayor and Council. Like the speaker said, my name is Amber Papo. I am the CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of British Columbia, or TIA BC. We represent a very large sector. We generate about $23 billion in annual economic activity into BC. Our industry supports 17,000 tourism and hospitality businesses across BC and 117,000 direct jobs. As the recently released 2026 provincial budget highlighted, the steady increase in travelers to BC over the past several years is also backed up by new data and new statistics, including things like record numbers of passengers through YVR, predictions of a record number of cruise ship lines into downtown Vancouver. And all indications also suggest that growth is going to continue. We've got global events such as the FIFA World Cup coming up. And Vancouver is a gateway city. And I would argue in this province it is the gateway city. And when the world comes to BC, it comes right through here. However, we do face a huge structural challenge. The Hotel Community Impact Study that was conducted recently by Destination Vancouver and the BC Hotel Association a few years ago, it clearly indicates that Vancouver will require about 10,000 new hotel rooms by 2050 to meet projected demand. And today, Vancouver hotels operate at near full capacity with an average annual occupancy rate of about 80%, and that peaks up to 95% during peak seasons. And these rates will continue. And as we do that, we're seeing that it's well above our peer cities. And while high occupancy seems like it's a positive thing, it also signals limited flexibility. It reduces our capacity to attract major conferences, international conventions, and marquee events. And compounding the issue, Vancouver has actually experienced a net loss of hotel rooms between 2002 and 2022, largely due to COVID, but at the same time, the development has also been limited. So right now, there's only approximately new hotels that have been built in the past 20 years, and as a result, Vancouver has essentially the same number of hotel rooms today as it did in 2002, but with very much an increase in demand. From an economic standpoint, and money often speaks louder than words, the implications are significant. If the required 10,000 new hotel rooms are built, the projected impact includes 5,450 direct local hospitality jobs, up to 8,000 indirect jobs in retail, events, and services, and approximately $78 million in provincial tax revenue. But more importantly, for this council, for the city of Vancouver specifically, the projected municipal tax revenue is about $125 million annually. The proposed hotel at 2030 Barclay would add 248 much-needed rooms to the city's inventory, including service apartments and short-term stay accommodation. And this type of purpose-built supply is precisely what Vancouver needs to meet demand and remain competitive as a global destination. From an industry perspective, this proposal is not simply beneficial, it's necessary. Vancouver can't afford to fall further behind comparable cities in hotel development. So on behalf of myself, who was also born in St. Paul's Hospital, BC, and the broader tourism sector, I respectfully encourage Council to approve this project and others like it to support the long-term economic health and vitality of the city and the province. So thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Great. Thank you, Amber.
You're very welcome.
Great. Speaker number 28, Andrew Matthias Powerluck.
Yeah, hello. Sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, my name is Matthias Harlick, a resident to the West End, and I support this building. So my residence is actually on Stovewold Lane and Lagoon Drive here, so I'm going to be hearing lots of construction like my other neighbors, and that's fine. Construction happens. The West End hasn't had any construction really for pretty much 36 years within this west of Denman kind of portion. I'm 36, so the West End plan pretty much froze all residential construction, so I'm very happy to hear that my fellow neighbors are in support of more rental, even though it's effectively frozen except for social housing, which is not being built. So the hotel, you know, I don't really care about the hotel use, although I wouldn't mind my sister, brother-in-law, and niece not staying within my 450 square foot apartment. It'd be great if my parents and I didn't have to walk about 30 minutes. We do make that 30-minute walk all the way from Granville Street when they visit. It'd be really nice if there was something a little bit more flexible in the neighborhood. Honestly, the one thing I want council to look at is part 2 of the conditions letter. So this is page 19 of the referral report. So I want to make this really, really clear. My neighbors have great concerns concerning traffic. Traffic doesn't just come from this one building. Traffic is going to be coming from Metro Vancouver, cruise ships, etc. We're not going to get less traffic, but what we can do is if we approve this building, as the West End doesn't get a lot of improvements except for major infrastructure, you know, like the Harrow Street water main upgrades, we don't really get street improvements. So the Barclay-Chilco intersections, it's been like that for day one, so 100 years. So we've had a lot of increase in traffic over 100 years, of course. But the conditions letter doesn't really state what sidewalk and roadway improvements are going to happen. So I work in real estate development. Our building goes up on a street and we put in, a section of a bike lane, wider sidewalks, a parklet. And I love that because I put that in certain neighborhoods that haven't had a lot of investment. I live in the West End and not a lot of construction happens here. So I would really like council to take a look at the conditions letter, if any amendments can be, placed in here, and improvements to the intersection at Barclay and Chilco, around Pooh Corner. It's a very good point that the traffic mitigation and calming effects aren't present. Barclay and Lagoon Drive, terrible intersection. There's no clear pedestrian or cycling connections from the West End into Stanley Park. Another comment I would really like to make is the reduction of parking on Chilco for the opening to Ted North Lane. The site views, so, kind of site blocks that you don't, the site lines aren't very clear. And so if you bulge out the sidewalks to the entry to Ted North Lane and Chilco Street, which I believe aren't in reading I don't have the services agreement for this building, but reading the conditions letter, I don't really see that. So I'd really stress council that if you think about not approving this, a lot of street improvements aren't going to happen because I don't think tax dollars are going to improve our streets anytime soon. So having a hotel here, I love the Roba de Matti restaurant that's in the former hotel that is on around Guilford and Harrow. I don't know, I live in the biggest, ugliest, tallest building in the West End, and I love it. So another tall building next to me and here construction for 2 years is just life of living in a city. So that's just kind of how the way she goes. But what I really want is those DCL monies that go into our neighborhoods so that we can calm traffic. I mean, I think my whole neighborhood wants that, as we've been kind of hearing speakers. So let's approve this building. Let's get that juicy DCL money into my neighborhood. Let's get the services agreement bumped up so we can get some, curb bulges going on here, some traffic changes, you name it, so we can make everybody safe and fix those heaved, weird, root-destroyed sidewalks that I see some of my neighbors walking on hand in hand. There's a guy with a cane and a walker who's, one of those, he's partially blind. I see him with his buddy walking down the street, another lady holding hand in hand, and she's on a stroller. Those sidewalks need to go. That DCL money can pay for it. So let's approve this hotel and get her going. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 29, Alexandra Ziki.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you great. Please go ahead.
Okay. Council, thank you for the time today. My name is Alex, and I live in the West End. I want to start by clearing something up because I feel like it's starting to get misunderstood. People in the West End are not anti-density. We're not anti-building. We're not anti-housing. What we're opposing is a 25-story luxury hotel. And I think it's important to note that this is not going to be an affordable, family-friendly hotel, as another speaker mused about. It's going to be for the rich. It's going to be inaccessible to regular people like my parents who also visit me and need a place to stay. It's a 25-story luxury hotel on a residential street on a land zoned RM 5B under the West End Community Plan. And that really matters. If this was a 25-story social housing project, many of us would be here supporting it. And if this were 25 stories of secured long-term rental housing that people actually lived in, I am sure it would be welcomed as well, but that's not what this is. It's also worth noting that this site has previously been approved for a 19-unit, 10-story condominium project by the developers that aligned perfectly with the zoning in the West End plan. That proposal was withdrawn despite already enlisting real estate agents, being on Instagram, and starting to sell units. This hotel is not the only option for this site. It's a choice to replace a conforming residential project with a luxury hotel. The West End plan was adopted by council to guide exactly these kinds of decisions. It clearly identifies area west of Denman as residential. It prioritizes housing and long-term livability for the people who live here. And it does not identify this area for major commercial hotel use. This proposal only exists through a CD1 rezoning because it does not align with the existing West End policy framework. The city's own West End rezoning policy says rezonings are supposed to adhere to the community plan. And when a project requires this level of rezoning, that tells us something about what's important, whether it fits with council's plan to be adopted or not. Residents engaged in good faith in creating this plan. We showed up, we participated, we compromised, and we did that with the understanding that this plan would actually be upheld. When a proposal like this moves forward anyways, it sends a clear message that the plan applies until it does not, and that community input has limits. This project is often justified by pointing to a hotel room shortage, but high prices and high occupancy do not automatically mean this is the right solution or the right location. This is still a choice. There's also environmental considerations the West End plan asks the city to take seriously. This site sits within the buffer zone of the Stanley Park heron colony, one of the largest urban heron nesting sites in North America. These birds have lived and tolerated us and lived alongside us for decades, and they are sensitive to overhead disturbance. The scale of this project creates a real risk to a colony that has existed here for generations. These concerns are not coming from residents only. A park board commissioner recently spoke at our last hearing about the potential impact of the development on Stanley Park, including traffic and environmental pressures. The park board has now asked the city staff for additional information about this impact before the project moves forward. Part of that concern includes the potential legal exposure the city could face if impacts on Stanley Park and its ecosystem are not properly considered. When the body responsible for protecting Vancouver's parks is raising questions about environmental impact and possible liability, that should give council pause. We also want to briefly address the narrative that has been presented around this project. We've heard a polished story about how this hotel would seamlessly be woven into the neighborhood, but that story has not matched the facts. Residents repeatedly asked for clear information about scale and claims being made. We asked for evidence to support some of the justifications raised, and that evidence was never provided. At the same time, there's been very limited meaningful engagement with the community despite repeated requests. Public communications have suggested a level of outreach that many residents did not experience. This makes it difficult to trust the narrative that we're being asked to accept. I want to also acknowledge that as a resident, I want to feel as like part of the vision for this city. I want to feel like the decisions that are being made move all of us forward. And standing here today, this proposal does not feel like the kind of progress any of us are hoping for. But it feels like as a city that keeps listening to a few while many are asking to be heard. I want to feel like someone that you are running to represent. I want to feel like someone who already lives here, like the people that already live here matter in decisions like this. We are here, we are obviously engaged, we are paying attention, and we care deeply about the city. We want Vancouver to succeed, we want it to be welcoming, but we also want it to be a city that keeps its word and invests in its residents and listens to the many, not the few. Please reject this rezoning. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 30, Philip Davis. Is Philip here? Speaker number 31, Ellen Ferris.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sim and Council. My name is Alan Ferris. I'm the president of the Strata at 1934 Barclay, where I've lived for 30 years. I'm here to represent my neighbors and voice our strong opposition to the rezoning of 2030 Barclay. I don't speak to you today only as a concerned neighbor. I speak with the professional insight of someone who has worked for 2 major Vancouver hotels for the past 40 years. It is truly a pleasure to welcome visitors from around the world to our beautiful city. But I also know the back-of-house reality that a glossy architectural rendering will never show you. A hotel is not just a building, it is a 24-hour-a-day business operation. I question the presenter's initial comments that the current property is already a hotel and receives deliveries. Comparing a 27-room property with one almost 10 times the size and saying they would have minimal difference in deliveries is simply absurd. To give you a sense of scale, I consulted with our own receiver at my current hotel. He estimates we receive between 9,000 and 10,000 deliveries per year. We have 20 different food suppliers, liquor, beer, wine, soft drinks, 4 separate waste companies, laundry, dry cleaning, and endless supplies of guest products delivered daily just to operate. These deliveries don't follow a 9-to-5 schedule. often starting at 6 a.m. and many after hours, and several are 7 days a week. While we are a 500-room hotel, even a fraction of that volume would be detrimental to any residential area. The current property at 2030 Barclay does not have any amenities, no restaurant, no retail is noted, no rooftop pool, all of which will require service. There is no front desk, there's no bellman. Arriving guests enter a code to get in. It is truly an Airbnb with housekeeping. Introducing high traffic operations directly contradicts the city's recent 30-kilometer speed limit reduction for the west of Denman area. Because the proposed hotel is not near SkyTrain, guests will arrive via taxi, Uber, and potential buses. The narrow streets of the West End simply cannot absorb the 24/7 volume of rideshare pickups, food deliveries, as well as the hundreds of staff required to run a hotel of this size. This simply won't happen without compromising the serenity of the residents who live beside and in the surrounding area. The presenter noted the proposed 240-room property is about 60 short-room stays and 180 long-term apartments. While I understand this is the plan, it is certainly not the reality. Quite simply, the business plan of a hotel, and I mean every hotel, is to sell every room, every night, at the best possible rate. It is that simple. You can look at the Sutton Place as an example. They have a hotel block of 397 rooms and a tower of 164 long-term apartments. Over time, the reality has changed. You can book these long-term rooms for a single night. If the hotel is to overbook the short-term rooms, guests are accommodated in the long-term apartments. That's the business. Why is it important? Excuse me. To be successful, a hotel of this size will need to have some group or tours, and typically that means buses. 25 rooms is 50 people. That's a full-size coach. When the hotel is full, there will be close to 400 to 500 people arriving and departing in the neighborhood every day, and that doesn't include the staff. Looking at history, many of us remember the Coast Hotel in Denman, just blocks away. It closed because it was not viable in this neighborhood, with 269 rooms. When this hotel fails, it will not be difficult to convert to condos. To be financially successful, a new hotel should be situated in a high-demand downtown area, major transportation and convention, as outlined in the city's own hotel development plan. This application also fails to meet the essential citywide rezoning standards regarding livability. The west of Denman area is a unique gem. In these 20 square blocks, there's virtually no commercial activity, the exception of one long-standing restaurant in Harrow. I want to stress that in our case, it is not the tower we object to. This is the reality of the city. While I don't feel the current tower fits the neighborhood, the objection is to a 24-hour business operation in the middle of a high-density residential neighborhood. In conclusion, people make a great community. Building upon its rich history, unbeatable location, diversity of people, the West End embraces its natural built assets to make it so livable, celebrate distinct character, and fosters a mix of people, places, and contribute to a vibrant, resilient community. If this sounds familiar, it is the vision from the city's own West End plan.
And Alan, I apologize, you're at time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your thoughts. Speaker number 32, Veronica Martissius. And I hope
yes, hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Please go ahead.
Yes, and that was good pronunciation. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to this matter. I am a Vancouver resident, and I oppose the recommended approval of the revised rezoning application at 2030 Barclay Street. This is the first time I have ever taken a NIMBY position, or not in my backyard position. But I cannot, in good conscience, remain silent about such an unreasonable and frankly obscene proposal. I live with my partner and our 4-year-old daughter in a semi-underground corner unit at the Chatelaine at the corner of Chilco and Barclay. The Chatelaine is a 96-year-old brick apartment building with single-paned windows. Our unit is kitty corner to the application site. We can see it from every window in our home. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. And we often hear the hustle and bustle coming to and from the current hotel, which is a tolerable 4 floors. Besides the sound of hotel guests rolling their suitcases down the sidewalk, our densely populated part of the West End neighborhood is relatively calm and quiet. The hotel guests are mostly respectful of our peace and enjoyment, but there have been times when loud conversations or interactions occur in the front of the hotel late at night or in the early hours of the morning, waking us from our sleep. I shudder to think of the level of noise and traffic a 25-story hotel and restaurant will generate. I disagree that this proposal is permissible under the city's hotel development policy, especially considering that it is contrary to the West End Community Plan and the West End rezoning policy. Although the hotel policy supports the expansion of existing hotels, the revised rezoning application would be appropriate for a hotel located on a commercial high street. For example, the 4-story Barclay Hotel at 1348 Robson Street, not smack dab in the middle of a densely populated residential neighborhood. The policy does not expressly contemplate expanding existing hotels located in residential neighborhoods. This distinction alone should be grounds for rejecting the revised rezoning application, let alone the various daily disturbances, congestion, air pollution, other environmental impacts as articulated by the Parks Board representative, and other hazards that will come from such a massive redevelopment between a dead-end laneway and a narrow residential street. I urge this council to refuse this application and vote no. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. The next speaker is speaker number 33, Britt Penn.
Hello. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Britt Penn, and my husband and I live just west of Denman, just a few steps from this site, and I oppose this rezoning. Thank you very much, I should say, for your time this afternoon, and thank you very much to the councillors who were present during our last hearing on the 19th for your line of questioning after the staff and applicant presentations. The questions that you raised showcased similar concerns from the community and what has been shared in over 400 plus opposition comments now submitted online. And based on the answers from both staff and applicant, I think that you surfaced many shortcomings in this application on topics ranging from tower size and current zoning to emergency access and competing policy plans, as well as many other great points. So thank you very much for that. I am not opposed to hotel development at this site. Of course, tourism matters, jobs matter, and a strong local economy matters. The hotel development policy enables you to make informed decisions on the very real consequences of proposed commercial developments that hold that balance of economic development and community impact. And today you have discretion, or perhaps on the 12th you will have discretion. At our last hearing, the planning team offered what can only be termed as a very reluctant recommendation, as they acknowledged that this project deviates from many West End community plan guidelines, as it was acknowledged that they are, feeling the pressure to balance competing priorities. That's no easy task for this team. And I believe this emphasizes the need for thorough and intentional processes with objective data from all impacted parties and stakeholders, rather than relying so heavily on some biased developer-led consultancy. As many have spoken to throughout this hearing, there is a resounding...
Britt, I totally apologize.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to unfortunately pause you just for one moment.
Sure.
Do we have quorum now? Great. We need, sir, we yeah. Sorry about that. That's on us, not you. I totally apologize. We stopped your timer, and I'll give you a little more time as well to reset if you need as well. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, we're good?
We're great.
Green light? Okay.
Green light, and I'm going to give you more extra time so you can reset.
Oh, good. No, we're good. Thank you for that. As many have spoken to throughout this hearing, there is a resounding 6,000 signature petition that has been submitted to this council. And I believe that this volume of opposition is worth noting and speaks to the lack of community consultation done by Marcon, despite what they deem to be sufficient. My primary concern is that a 25-story commercial tower is just far too large for this site's specific constraints. A 6 to 10-story boutique hotel would be a much more appropriate fit, effectively meeting tourism demand while significantly reducing the operational and urban design impacts on the neighborhood. Scaling down to this size would align the proposal with the sound planning principles established in the West End Community Plan, ensuring we welcome visitors without compromising the residential integrity of the area. The existing transit and traffic infrastructure simply cannot support a 25-story commercial property, as the last speaker was just speaking to. Regardless of below-grade access of this plan, unlike residential land use, the hotel operates on a 24-hour cycle of trip generation, passenger turnover, and operational logistics. Funneling that commercial volume into a single no-exit lane, which must already accommodate city services and resident parking, is just a recipe for a neighborhood overflow. And this just isn't inconvenient for residents. This isn't just a NIMBY, right? It would completely change how the surrounding streets function and introduce major safety conflicts between vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists, and Pooh Corner, as was so thoughtfully mentioned. Approving this project would grant a commercial operation an unfair advantage at the expense of public street function and safety. Any development at the entrance of our beloved Stanley Park, regardless of scale, should not proceed without formal coordination with the Park Board, as flagged by Park Commissioner Brennan Vasuvansky, to ensure long-term integrity of adjacent natural systems. The herons have been mentioned here, important to note. As was outlined last hearing, advancing major commercial developments adjacent to the park without proper board deliberation invites litigation and injunctions, and this council does not have the necessary information to make that informed decision on the impact. In closing, cities evolve incrementally. One exception becomes the next benchmark, and long-range planning only works when well-designed community plans meaningfully guide decisions at key moments like this. I've lived west of Denman for about 10 of the last 15 years, and it truly is a magical place where the urban form meets, the rare natural beauty and history of our park, and that balance is fragile. So, please use your discretion today or on the 12th, and I ask that you please oppose this rezoning. Thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thank you very much, Britt. And once again, I want to apologize for that little thing there. Okay. Speaker number 34, Stuart Robinson. Robinson. Stuart here.
This is Stuart Robinson. I live right here in the West End. Are you here? Ahead. Thank you. I'm calling today because I want to share my support for the new hotel proposal at 2030 Barclay Street. I live in the area. I walk by this block quite often. It's a beautiful part of Vancouver, so close to Stanley Park, the seawall, and bustling Denman Street. I truly believe that a thoughtfully designed hotel here can enhance the area, bring life and activity without taking away from what makes it special. I also live on Mountain Street in a condo built by Marcon, and I've been very impressed by the quality of their work and the architecture and attention to detail that makes them stand out from other developers. This experience has made me confident that this hotel will be built responsibly and with care for the community and the surroundings. This hotel will also bring more accommodation to the West End and hopefully keep the people walking into the lobby of my condo with their suitcases, away from our community here. I want to see jobs that support local tourism and create more jobs. I also like that it will include a street-level restaurant and rooftop amenities, spaces that both residents and visitors can enjoy, while helping make the street feel more vibrant and welcoming. I also appreciate that Marcon has listened to community feedback along the way by lowering the height from 29 to 25 stories in height. As someone who lives nearby and has experienced the quality of Marcon's work firsthand, I'm happy to support this proposal and hope the city will approve it. Thanks for your time and consideration.
Great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 35, Terry Smith.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
We can hear you great. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name is Terry Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of the West End Business Improvement Association. The West End BIA represents approximately 650 businesses and property owners across 21 blocks of Davie, Denman, and Robson Streets. Our role is to champion the collective success of our local business community through branding, marketing, placemaking, advocacy, and strategic partnerships. While the 2030 Barclay site sits just outside of our formal catchment, it is very much part of the broader West End and downtown ecosystem that supports our businesses. And for that reason, we are here online today to express our conditional support for Marcon's rezoning proposal at 2030 Barclay. Downtown Vancouver has experienced a significant loss of hotel inventory in recent years due to conversions to residential use, closures, and repurposing for social housing. At the same time, Vancouver continues to attract tourism, conventions, and major festivals, and an adequate hotel capacity is essential to meeting visitor demand and sustaining a vibrant downtown economy. This proposal would add 248 hotel rooms, a net increase of 221 rooms over the former Rosellan Suites, and rebuilding hotel capacity at this scale contributes to the visitor economy and generates increased foot traffic for our local businesses. That said, we do want to acknowledge and respect the concerns raised by our residents. We understand the apprehension around neighborhood density, potential noise from street-level restaurant patio and rooftop amenities, and increased traffic from rideshare and taxi activity. We are encouraged by several elements of the proposal to address these concerns. The long-term stay model, representing approximately 2/3 of the total rooms, should reduce high guest turnover and daily traffic impacts. The inclusion of an underground drop-off and pickup area, which is a thoughtful design feature intended to mitigate congestion on residential streets. And of course, Marcon's amendment of the project height from 29 to 25 stories in response to community feedback demonstrates a willingness to adapt. Restaurant patios can contribute vibrancy to a neighborhood. However, given this location west of Denman and outside the main commercial corridors, it is critical that operations respect adjacent residential buildings. We have seen neighborhood patios operate successfully in similar contexts, including at Tavalla, the Sylvia, and Roba Damati. The key is reasonable operating hours, clear expectations, and enforcement of noise management. Furthermore, we also understand that Marcon intends to pursue designation through the International LGBTQ+ Travel Association, an organization that promotes safe, inclusive, and equitable travel experiences for LGBTQ+ visitors worldwide, an approach that aligns strongly with the values and identity of the West End community. In closing, while we do in principle support this project in recognition of the much-needed hotel rooms it will deliver, an important economic stimulus it will bring to the neighborhood, our support is conditional upon Marcon demonstrating an ongoing commitment to being a responsible neighbor, which means proactively managing traffic, ensuring respectful patio operations, and contributing positively to the livability and vibrancy of the West End. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Speaker number 36, Samantha Gooding.
Speaker is not on the line.
Okay. Speaker number 37, Holly Burke.
Speaker is not on the line.
Okay. Oh, she's here in person.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Holly Burke. I've lived in the West End for 16 years, and I'm about 50 yards from Rosellan. I vote no on behalf of myself and our uniquely balanced community. And I'm so happy we've had so many great speakers today. So, the decision that is made on this pivotal issue will have far-reaching consequences for Vancouver's future, for the West End's future. So, will we be wise and protect our long-term assets for future generations to enjoy? Or will we rush to make a buck, jeopardizing the very character of the West End and our crown jewel, Stanley Park? The site has not been properly vetted or proven to be safe. There is not enough footage on the site to insert a 27-story building deeply into seismically vulnerable ground. It overwhelms neighboring buildings and the community. You cannot simply shoehorn in a 27-story building into seismically risky ground with an insufficient lot size, overriding the residential zoning for the block, and expect us to be happy. You cannot override the established plans, community plans, in favor of a single private development rather than community-guided, transparent city planning. If you let this through, what happens next? Okay, so we support hotel growth, just not here, and here's why. The BC Hotel Association recommends downtown and commercial corridors for commercial hotels and 6 to 8 story buildings, boutique hotels in our area, not a tower. The West End is very boutique oriented. The Broadway corridor and downtown near the cruise ships where transport is already established is good. These areas are already cleared for high density. These better choices would support long-term hotel supply more effectively. There are too many problems and sensitivities in an area like Stanley Park, too many red lines being crossed. Hey, we don't want our skyline filled in. We're already dealing with the huge water main project, which negatively impacts us daily. In fact, we'd like to call for a moratorium on large projects west of Denman until the water main is complete. If you lived in the West End, you would understand why so. So, our Stanley Park and our neighborhood should be protected, not exploited. Anyone can see how inappropriate and damaging a large commercial hotel would be, bringing significantly more taxis, traffic, buses, ride-hailing, especially in an area not designed or approved for commercial hotel traffic. Why has there been no open house? No proper public consultation and overall transparency? Why has there been no consultation with the Parks Board? We care about planning coherence. And we're counting on you to uphold planning coherence. And we will be expressing ourselves in the election, of course, depending on how this goes. How can you approve a project that isn't good for the West End, a real Vancouver neighborhood? Sure, let's build more hotel rooms. Let's evolve. Let's embrace prosperity in Vancouver's future, by all means. But not at the expense of our regulations, ethics, or compromising our neighborhood's very character, the thing that attracts people here in the first place. So, Mayor and Council, please vote no to the rezoning and protect the West End. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Holly. Speaker number 38, Gwendol Castellan.
Speaker 38.
Speaker's not on the line.
Not on the line? Speaker number 39, Adil Ahmed.
Good afternoon, Mayor Sim, members of council and city staff. My name is Adil Ahmed and I represent the owners of 2010 Barclay Street, and we oppose the rezoning application as it's presented. I'm speaking today in reference to the concerns laid out in our letter to City Council dated February 17, 2026. We've been private family owners of 2010 Barclay for approximately 40 years. Somewhere along the way, an assumption was made and then a decision taken that seemingly for us, our site was not a development site. I want to talk to you about fairness today, the fairness principles that owners and long-term housing providers rely upon when making decisions about maintaining or reinvesting in aging rental buildings like ours. My perspective today will be slightly different, and it should not undermine at all the concerns that were raised by many of the other speakers, but I will focus on the perspective of being a neighborhood owner. The rezoning proposal permanently impairs not one, but two neighborhood sites. The city's staff referral report shows that the proposed hotel tower places only a 20-foot setback at the shared property line, far below an equally shared 40-foot tower separation required under the West End policy. This creates a condition where both 2010 and 2040 Barclay Street would have to absorb the remaining separation room, making future meaning redevelopment impossible. This isn't speculation. City staff themselves acknowledge that the proposed form prejudices and constrains the redevelopment potential of neighboring sites. That's on page 29 for an exact reference. We've spoken to the owners of 2040 Barclay as well, and they are fully aligned with us on this concern. And together, we represent two legacy West End housing properties that stand to lose density if this single site rezoning is approved in its current form. Sorry, go to the next page here. Okay. The fairness principle. As owners, we rely on a predictable regulatory framework. We cannot understand why the hotel policy would supersede the RM5B and the West End plan. Our building at 2010 Barclay is a 70-year-old rental property. We continue to invest in its upkeep, and we pay taxes and maintain rental homes in good faith based on the city's established zoning and planning rules. What happens when the building completely fails? But when a proposal seeks over 4 times the allowable density and a height increase of 22 meters to over 80 meters, while shifting the negative impact onto long-standing neighbors, we believe it violates the basic fairness principles we depend on. We're not opposed to hotels, nor development, nor the city's efforts to expand tourism capacity. We're opposing an approach that grants one property extraordinary benefits while transferring extraordinary costs onto the others permanently. Page 4 of the city staff report actually says the maximum height and densities under existing zoning are not achievable. We are not asking council to deny growth. We are asking you to prevent a permanent impairment of 2 potential future housing sites in a city that needs it. The letter we submitted to council explicitly noted that this proposal did not consider alternatives that would preserve neighborhood development rights. To be clear, we are not asking for site consolidation. Instead, we respectfully ask council to consider a block-wide rezoning approach of this part of Barclay Street. This would enable all 3 sites, 2010, 2030, and 2040 Barclay, to retain future development potential, allow for a rational, policy-aligned tower replacement, prevent one property from dictating the future of its neighbors, support the city's rental and housing objectives by keeping future redevelopment pathways open, and address the concerns raised by all the speakers that have presented and will present in this hearing. This is a policy-consistent and fair alternative to approving a project that would otherwise permanently sacrifice 2 adjacent properties. Moreover, we believe that housing shortages now and in the future as our city grows will necessitate a study and update to the West End policy to adapt current and future city needs, and so the extensive aging rental housing stock can be adequately and mindfully replaced as buildings start to reach end of life. The city has already acknowledged housing as an issue. Staff have warned that this rezoning would impair our future ability to contribute new housing through redevelopment. Are we okay sacrificing 2 potential future residential buildings for less than 3% contribution of rooms to the 10,000 hotel rooms that are envisioned? This is the exact scenario fairness principles are supposed to prevent. In closing, Mayor and Council, we ask that we be treated fairly. We ask the Council, don't rush your decision. This is a permanent decision. Do not approve a rezoning that permanently eliminates the redevelopment potential of 2 long-standing properties. Defer and adopt a block-wide plan to approach so that all properties are treated fairly, so that 2010 and 2040 Barclay retain the ability someday to contribute new modern housing stock to the West End. Consider a renewed study of the West End policy to mindfully adapt current and future needs. Thank you for your time and for considering fairness and long-term viability of this very, very special, unique neighborhood. Thank you.
We have 4 minutes left. Just to for the last. Okay. Would someone like to move a motion just to extend this session to hear the next speaker? Okay. So moved. Second. Any discussion? All in favor say yea. All opposed say nay. Great, thank you. We will hear the next speaker. Speaker number 40, Timothy Rowenbush. Okay, why don't we try Stanley Lee, speaker number 41. Nope. Okay, speaker number 42, Crystal Tadman. 43 withdrawn. 44, Randy Nill. I believe he's here. Yes. Okay. Clerk, it worked out at the end.
My name is Randy Nill. Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Randy Nill, and I've lived at 1010 Choco, 1 block south of this project, for about 30 years, and west of Denman for almost 40 years. I'm speaking on behalf of the Strata Council of our building, Choco Park, at 1010 Choco. We strongly believe this proposal should not progress any further because it negatively affects our entitled quiet enjoyment of our neighborhood. On the 2-page summary and recommendations, which you have been reading, recommends moving forward with the proposed design in principle with a few minor changes, but this summary does not clearly explain the problems with the proposed project that are in the 32-page referral report. These include that the height is nearly 4.5 times the existing policy. The density is 4.3 times the policy. The policy minimum lot frontage is 130 feet minimum, and this site's only 99 feet. Shadowing is obviously an issue. Tweaking the edges of the 25-story building is not a significant change to the overall shadowing. This well-known 80-foot separation between towers extends over the adjacent properties, like we heard the last gentleman say, and affects their development potential. They can't even build what they're zoned for now, let alone higher buildings. And then they're not consolidated. Other obvious issues are the parking and servicing. Are 55 stalls and 15 for the restaurant enough for a 248-room hotel? Even the engineering department does not support a relaxation of parking and loading requirements in this location. Perhaps there are shuttle buses, Ubers, and taxis, but there's not even a lay-by drop-off for any cars to stop without blocking the street. The site is 2 blocks from Denman, where there's one number 5 bus with a bad reputation. It's not near any rapid transit. There's no overnight parking spots available and street parking spots nearby. The traffic report indicates that large truck loading is possible, but there have never been large delivery trucks along Barclay Street and the dead-end Ted North Lane, so this is a major change to the character of the neighborhood. And if you look at the site plan, the drive-down driveway is shared with the residential next door, and it's a one-way curving path down into the underground parking. Anyways, I couldn't find what changes in the noise bylaw are, but if a new restaurant and rooftop bar make too much noise, is the proper solution to change the bylaw? Maybe the neighbors should be given earplugs instead. The restaurant Marcon tested is a small community-oriented restaurant a couple blocks away behind a landscape buffer, not a street-oriented, tourist-filled restaurant. So I don't think that noise comparison makes any sense at all. Other hotels in the area, as we've heard, on Robson and Denman Street have been torn down or reduced in size because there are far better locations. Our neighbors all agree that the city needs more hotel rooms. We're not anti-development by any stretch, but they should be located appropriately. This proposal violates every existing zoning, community planning, and neighborhood vision that has been created over the years with significant community citizen input. It contradicts the Vancouver model that says that allowing high density around the perimeter of this neighborhood, along and near Georgia and Brard Streets, would protect the lower density of the interior part of the West End, while providing plenty of new residential units. And we've seen lots of high-rises go up around the perimeter. This is clearly stated by previous planning department officials. The former director of planning, Larry Beasley, earned the Order of Canada and many, many awards for his work on the Vancouver plan that created this concept, among other world-famous planning ideas. We know the Vancouver plan has been altered in other neighborhoods, but the planning concepts in the West End have never been really challenged until this project came by. Against every planning vision, this proposal relies on a small loophole in the hotel development policy that allows new hotels to be located where there's an existing hotel. It's hard to imagine this statement envisioned a 25-story building to replace a 4-story building. I wonder what the folks who drafted the hotel development policy thought about that. Anyways, we strongly hope this proposal gets stopped now and might reappear as a future design that fits into the neighborhood of the character of our wonderful neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy, for coming in. I'm glad we got to you. This meeting is recessed until Thursday, March the 12th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. here in Council Chamber and electronically to continue with speaker number 45. I will remind Council that it's incredibly important that you do not engage in any discussion or correspondence in regard to the remaining application. Thank you.